Hello. In this video, I'm going to do my best to give instructions on how to input answers on your exam login tests in which you'll see grid ends. And so I want you all to just take heed and follow these tips that's going to be suggested in this video. So I titled this one M218 Chapter 11 E-Learning Test. And what you will see is for each question, I just picked on two for now, but each question there will be a bubble, a grid end, just like this one. Sometimes there are 6 spaces, 6 columns. Sometimes there are 7. But in any case, I want you to be aware not every single column will be used. Okay, so I want you all to be mindful of that. So let's say, for example, the answer is 37. You get, for number 1, the answer is 37. I would want you to recognize this, that you would just put 3 and 7 to the numbers, to the columns that are to the far right. And then please bubble in 3 properly and bubble in 7. Okay? Please don't be messy. Do your best to be neat and fill in a corresponding bubble. If you just put 3 and 7 up here and then you forget to bubble, you're going to miss the problem because the way it's read it needs those bubbles bubbled in, shaded in. Okay. Now let's talk about if you get an answer. Let's say sometimes you may get an answer like 3/4. Okay. In this case, let's say number 2, you get 3/4. Since 3 and 4 and then that slash, you're actually going to use the last 3. So let's go 3. All right, right there. You're going to then put slash and then 4. So you can go 3, bubble in the slash, bubble in the 4. That is one way of doing it. Of course, we know 3/4 is equal to 0.75. So let's just say we don't want to bubble in 3/4. We want to bubble in the decimal. So in this case, you can do that as well. Just give me 1 second as I get everything squared away. So in this case, you could just type in decimal point as the first bubble, and then 7.5, decimal point here, 7 and 5. And notice how in number 2, just like number 1, I didn't use every single column, only use the last 3, and you'll find this for a lot of the problems. You could also put in 0.75. You don't have to, but that's acceptable. You could put a bubble in 0. All right, 0. Of course, 0 would probably be down here. I forgot to include it, but 0, and then 0.75. Okay, you could do it that way as well. Okay, let's just say, hey, you know what? You get an answer like 3 pi. And we want you on this test to type in pi. Instead of using pi, the pi button, we want you to use 3.14. So give me 1 second as I kind of get this squared away. And notice that pi is not available. So you're going to have to round to the nearest hundredth. For this test, we want you to round to the nearest hundredth spot, which is 2 spots after the decimal. And let's just say, hey, you get the answer to be 3 pi. So remember what I just said. You're going to use 3 times 3.14, and you're going to bubble that in because you don't have a spot for pi. So the answer is actually 9.42. So in this case, you're going to use 4 spots. 9 goes first. So the decimal point, and then 4, 2. Okay, because you don't have pi. You won't be inputting 3 pi. you're not even going to use the actual calculator, the button pi, the pi button on your calculator. You're going to use 3.14 in. So you get 9.42. So 9.42, 9 decimals point, and then 4, and then 2 as well. Okay, so that's what we would want you to do. And the same thing if you got, let's say, hey, the answer for number 4, all right, you found out the answer was 7 root 3. Okay, so you're going to have to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so in this case, 7 root 3, you're going to type in, you can go ahead and use square root of 3. All right, you can use that. And of course, that is 1.73. Give me 1 second. So it's actually square root of 3 is like 1.732050, quite a few numbers. So you're going to then multiply that by 7. So when you have this 7 times 1.73205, blah, 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 it keeps going. So you can multiply that by 7, and you're going to get 12.124. So all you're going to do is input, it kind of goes to 12.124. You're going to just input because you're rounding to the nearest 100. All right, so in this case, you're going to enter 5 spots. So 1, 2.12. You're going to input that in and shade the proper bubbles. Okay? So my point in showing you this video is just so that you guys can kind of see what are our expectations for inputting your answers. We want you to round to the nearest hundredth if you get a decimal. If the answer has pi, for example, you're trying to find the area of a circle and it's 3 pi, like in number 3, you're not going to put in 3 pi. You're actually going to use 3.14 to substitute that in for pi and then multiply by 3. So in this case, you get 9.42. So I wanted you to at least see a few examples on how to type numbers in. And most of the time, you won't use every single column. In that case, only use the columns in which you get answers to. Now, there are some instances. Let's just say, hey, the answer to number 5, you use all of them. Okay? So I'm just going to make up an answer to number 5. Let's say the answer is 189.34. So you're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 goes first. 8, 9.34. You're going to type all of that in and then shade the corresponding bubbles, including the decimal point. All right? And make sure you round to the nearest hundredth. And so in this case, number 5, if that's the case, notice how we used every single column. So there would be a few cases in which that would take place. Then you use them all. And I think there's one in which you may have 7 columns. So then go ahead and use all 7 if needed. Okay, but in any case, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But basically, those are some tips when taking your test on Exam Login and Mastery Manager. Hope it goes well. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.